Apple is smuggling iPhones into the United States. Well, I mean, it sounds like that anyway. Not really smuggling because it's not illegal. However, it sounds like something more out of the Prohibition era than it does 2025, as we have all these tariffs that are flying back and forth between countries, particularly the United States and China. Apple is flying over planes full of iPhones and other products to try and stockpile them here in the United States to try and keep the prices down low, or at least kind of avoid and dodge some of that stuff so prices don't go up. So Apple is actually doing something proactive to help out their fan base or prospective buyers. And I'll give them a little golf clap for that. To Hey, at least they're trying, right? So apparently this started before the end of March, and I was just reading an article about it earlier. And Apple has flown quite a many planes out of China and out of India to bring their iPhones and some of their products here to the U.S. so they can try and beat all these tariffs. Some that one, well, the big ones, I guess, going into the place on April the 9th. So interesting stuff, and I want to talk about that a little bit more in this video. So, I did make a video yesterday talking about the tariffs because we've got the ones here in the U.S., so we've got the ones that are popping up in other countries, mainly China, and it seems to be kind of like almost a tariff war going back and forth because one side raises one, the other one threatens to raise, and it's just not good. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where it creates a lot of uncertainty, and I talked about that in my video yesterday because, if the prices go up on these things, then we're going to be stuck footing the bill, right? I mean, we don't want $2,000, $1,800 iPhone 16 Pro Maxes or whatever. That's just crazy. So I am glad that Apple's being proactive, and I said something about this. I said, I bet you that they've been moving them over here so that way they can try and pad their inventories to create a buffer zone to try and wait this stuff out and see what happens. And apparently they've got smart people over there because they've been doing it. So I'm glad that they're doing that. But yeah, we don't know what the prices are going to go up to. We don't know what these crazy tariffs are that are going to, what's ultimately going to end up sticking, how long it's going to stick for, and things like that. And the thing is once the phones are already here and their inventory, like when these tariffs go into effect, it's not going to impact the current stuff that's already here because they've already paid, the import dues and all that crap whenever they bring them over. That's when that's when it's paid, and then of course it could be theoretically offset to the customer. I don't know what Apple's plans are, but I was reading something about I believe it was Toyota, and a lot of their industry, I think like 3 or 4% of their country's GDP is in their automotive industry, and there were tariffs that were put on them for their vehicles and stuff, and Toyota said we're not going to raise the price. They're just going to absorb that. So that's really cool, a very honorable thing for them to do. But hopefully, my hope is that this stuff gets worked out. It's just a bunch of tempers flaring, trying to get people to the table, whatever. Hopefully, it's done and over with quickly because it creates uncertainty. It creates the possibility of prices going up. It creates volatility, and things are already crazy expensive. And I just went grocery shopping with my wife earlier this evening, and it's like, man, every time I go, it seems like stuff is more and more and more expensive. I talked about this like a week ago. 4 or 5 years ago, we would buy the Hill Country Fair bread over at H-E-B, which is a chain here in Texas, and it was 88 cents. And now it's $2.24. It's tripled in price just for bread. And this stuff is crazy. So you can imagine if you added a 10, 20, 30, 40%, 50%, whatever tariff on these things, that, yeah, the prices could go up exponentially higher than what they are right now. So I thought it was interesting talking about Apple and them smuggling phones into the U.S. And I'm sure a lot of other companies are doing this too. I'm sure it's not just Apple. I'm sure Samsung and other guys are doing it too. And I really do believe this has something to do with the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge being delayed. Imagine if they launch this new phone at $1,000 and then, oh, wait, we've got this new tariff. We've got to pay extra costs. It's 20% more expensive. That would really, really dig into their profit margins. That would really dig into people willing to buy the phone, especially an expensive phone already. I mean, it's already hard to get people to pay $1,000 for a phone. Imagine $1,200, $1,300, whatever that price could be. So I know that Samsung's had some leadership stuff going on with one of their, I think it was a co-product CEO or something like that. He passed away recently. So I know there's some leadership changes going on over there. And then also the volatility and uncertainty of the market and these tariffs and things like that. I'm sure a lot of companies, I'm sure Samsung's flown a bunch of stuff over here too. But Samsung does a lot of their business. They're a South Korean company and they do some of their own work, but also a lot of their stuff goes through It goes through Vietnam for manufacturing, not China. China has much higher tariffs, and we've got this thing going back and forth with them right now in the U.S. So it's one of those things where Apple is disproportionately impacted by this because they do more business with building, manufacturing, sourcing parts for their phones in China, and they're actually moving some more of that to India. And it looks like India might be the projection platform they use in the future, pulling more and more further away from China to try and get more stability. Because here's the thing. We don't make phones here in the U.S., and that's the problem. And when it comes to these tariffs, it's not really protecting any industry here back in the U.S. because we don't make our own phones. We have to import all of our phones. Even though Apple's a U.S. brand, the suckers are still made in China and India and Vietnam. They're not made here in the United States. It's too expensive. So we'd be paying $2,000 for an iPhone if it was made in an American factory. So that's the thing with it. It's kind of frustrating that we have these tariffs impacting the smartphone and other technology industries because we don't have the capability to manufacture them. So it's just costing us more money for something that we can only buy from other companies and other countries anyway. So it'll be interesting to see how this stuff all pans out. I don't want to talk too much more about this tariff stuff, but I just thought it was interesting talking about Apple being a phone smuggler. They're bringing their own products over here, and I get it. That's a smart business tool. That's a really good idea. That's something that I advocated for, and I was like, you know what, they should be doing this. Hopefully they're doing this, and they did. So the more they can stockpile, the more they can get in before April 9th, and the more they can get before these big tariffs take into place, it'll help offset that cost. They won't have to worry about lowering it because it won't be going up. It'll still be basically the same price as before. So my hope is that they've got enough inventory to get us maybe through the middle, the rest of the year. If you're wanting to get an iPhone 16 series phone, I'm sure they did it with some other products as well. The article I read said iPhones and other products. So probably some MacBooks and some tablets and things. I wonder what planes these are. I want to know what big, gigantic planes these are that are hauling these things over here and how many. I'd love to hear the numbers on how many they brought over because Apple sells about 80 million iPhones annually. That's a lot of stinking phones. Like how many shipping containers or how many planes is that going to take? And they had to put it on planes because if you put it on one of those freight liners that comes over from Vietnam and has to sail around the world, it won't get here before April the 9th, So it's interesting. It's kind of funny at the same time. It's crazy that companies have to do that, but I do appreciate that Apple's doing this and going ahead and pulling a bunch of those phones over here and other products to try and keep the sale prices lower for those who need to get this stuff, maybe interested, need to get a new phone and all that stuff because we don't want to pay these incredibly high prices. So it'll be something important to watch in the near future as all this stuff unravels and solidifies and what goes on because I know people are concerned about it. I've been getting messages and comments in my videos for weeks talking about this stuff. How's it going to impact the price on this? What's going to happen to this price? How much is this going to be? This is worrisome, things like that. And I know people have different feelings one way or the other on both sides, but I mean, this is my business, right? I make videos about phones, so I thought it was important to talk about this stuff, talk about the implications and how it might impact the prospectus for getting a new phone as we roll beyond this next week. So interesting stuff. Good job, smuggler Apple. I hope you brought millions in so that you could save more people money as much as you can on your expensive products anyway. But anyway, it's at least a nice gesture to try and stifle some of this stuff and come up with a plan and attack it head on. That's always a good idea. So that's all I got. If you have any questions, comments, gripes, concerns, complaints, all that stuff, please, of course, go to the comments section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys next time.